when I post updates of this. Like, why? And my first initial gut response is, well, why not? If people can't have or don't have VR, it's what better way to put it out in the real world so people can actually see it. I'm Simon Clark, known as Top Gunsy online, and I've been sculpting in VR pretty much since SculptVR first came out. I bought that because I'd been playing a bit of Minecraft and suddenly realized that sculpting was quite fun, especially in VR. I was a earth-moving operator or a digger driver for pretty much the last 20 years. I've stood in a machine and used my hands and I'm sculpting the ground, basically. So playing on these at night and having my hands, the coordination was there just with what I do during the day, but it was just a whole different level, and it was just so engaging and intuitive too. Like, there was no mess involved. You could just pick it up and leave it, save it where you wanted. I've got into Shapelabs because it's not so much a voxel-based one, it's more mesh. It's pretty neat where the tools have become now. I'm thinking I might build a museum app at some stage when I learn a bit more about Unity and game development. This is obviously the decimated version, so it's displayable in VR chat. But the original model was 12 million triangles, so I messed up the first one with my scaling in Windows 3D Builder. I ended up selling that one. Someone actually here in New Zealand just came and bought it straight away, so there's obviously a demand for them. I thought, well, I'll reprint this one at full scale. So I got the measurements right this time. I rechecked and triple checked, and I was right. So when I printed it out, yeah, it was bang on. Out of the blue this year, we had a real T-Rex come to New Zealand because we've never had anything like this over here before. So we went up to see that straight away as soon as it went on display. And as soon as I saw that in real life, that scale, like just standing in a similar pose to that, I was just kind of like, I know what I'm doing when I get home. I'm going to be carrying on printing the rest of Don't even have a final cost yet, but it's lucky I have a very supportive wife. I ended up buying a new CR10 Max. I just hit the button and walk away, and it's just so easy to use. The bits are coming off pretty much one every day as a piece about yay big that I can then join to the next piece that was previous to it. And then there's all the obviously sanding and prep work to join it when I post updates of this. Like, why? And it's kind of my first initial gut response is, well, why not? If people can't have or don't have VR, it's what better way to put it out in the real world so people can actually see it. And also for me personally, it's satisfying to see something that I've made completely from scratch in VR, using my hands basically with the tools provided in Shapelabs, just sculpting it up and then being able to cut it up in pieces and then print it out and then seeing it slowly take shape into the real world. Because of the sheer scale of it, like, it's quite mind-blowing that I never would have dreamed this sort of technology. I'd be able to do something like this as a teenager or as a kid. If you'd told me this, I would have been like, that sounds so futuristic, but here we are. Dinosaurs, because they're extinct, they don't really scare me as such, but insects and stuff do. That's why I started making the insect museum that I've also got in VR chat. The first ever insect I ever did was in SculptVR, and I found when I was first sculpting it, and you actually, because of VR, how it is, you blow it up and it's huge. It's like this big bug, and the more detailed you get, the closer it's getting to the end. There was times where there was half an hour or more where I'm standing there and I'm like chills down my spine while I'm trying to sculpt this giant weta or something. I reckon it helps you get over your phobia, because I don't have quite the same fear of when I see them in real life now, from the fact that I've just spent a lot of time with them up close and really big in VR. Got a big dragonfly up above us, which I thought that was one of the first bugs I put in here, because just dragonflies are neat, as I've always liked flying, and they just look like little mini helicopters. That's a photo that I took of a real one when I was camping in the mountains in New Zealand, and I never realized we had such a spider in New Zealand, because when me and my friend, when we came across it, there was this big hole in this underground web, and I said, that looks a bit big for a spider in New Zealand. I didn't think we had anything that large, so we poked it with a stick, and that big, you can see the stick in the photo, and it came running out and latched onto the end of the stick and gave me the absolute woolies. So that was why when I got home, I started sculpting it, try and get over that fear. We've got a couple of different wetas over that side, which are quite a native to New Zealand. I think the first time they're probably ever seen on screen was in Peter Jackson's King Kong. All the insects were all sculpted in Shapelabs. The legs and the joins I've kept them all separate so that when I went to rig them, because actually some of them are animated at the back, I use another VR app for animating, and that's Masterpiece Motion. It's just simple as just playing with like a toy. You're just pulling the arms out and posing it, and then you can take a shot where you want for your frame. and then you could just move it a bit and do another one. It was a very interesting learning curve trying to animate 8 legs and keep them all looking slightly independent of each other. I want to keep working on this. There's a lot more insects I want to add to this. It's just obviously this year with the print, I've been a little bit busy for the last couple of months, but I will get back to this and carry on adding more. There was a cave behind our farm where we grew up, and they literally just line the roof. If you look in, when there's heaps of them, it literally looks like the roof has hair on it. There's just so many of these big legs and feelers hanging down. It absolutely gives you the woolies because it just looks like the roof is moving. I tried to simulate that out the back just a little bit, not to freak people out, but just to give you a little bit of an experience as to what they're like on the roof. This is the first one we've come across as an ant. Out here as though he's escaped and crawled over the wall. Compared to when I started, I've just learned so much. It's a massive learning process, but it's all worth it. So there's a fly up there, just rubbing his little paws together. And then I've got a praying mantis there. And see these mushrooms, these were all sculpted in VR. This is all hand painted with vertex colors in Shapelabs because I find I really enjoy the spray paint tool in like the VR apps like Shapelabs or SculptVR. They're my two favorite if you're using the spray paint tool. But the trouble is vertex colors are not a texture. And so I had to learn how to go into Blender and then bake those vertex colors onto texture. And once I figured that out, I can just go into Substance and just put like some sort of a very light, transparent normal map over the already colored insect, which just gives it that little bit extra look in the light. And it just really makes them stand out that much better. But it's another part of the learning process. There's a dragonfly that'll come down here. I tried to get it so he skimmed the water and moved erratically like they do when I guess they're hunting. I even put a seat on it if there's people game enough to have a ride in VR, but it's definitely not for the faint-hearted because it's pretty motion sick inducing because it's so erratic how it moves. And the leaves, like everything in here, like that. Oh, it's pretty hard to see these photos on the wall, but you can sort of see there's a backdrop behind. That was literally just taken on my smartphone outside on the lawn because I wanted to try and use everything that I'd made myself. So all the grass blades, the clover, and all these grass blades were taken from a photo I took of individual blades of grass on a piece of white paper and then used Blender for those ones just to cut them out and then make them into a 3D grass strand. But all the bugs in that, or the leaf, that was another one off the lawn that I just converted into a 3D object to float around. I've got this weta here, sort of doing their stance they do. If they feel threatened, they raise their back legs, and trust me, they can scratch. Animations are memory intensive when you're uploading a world to VR chat, the more you have. So I just try to keep everyone just as simple as possible, but just to give it enough, to give people an indication of what they do. And then I did just on a loop. So you'll probably see them on the roof there. So as you can imagine, when you're in VR, these are a lot bigger than they are in real life, but it gives you the kind of that creepy crawly feeling when they're hanging off the roof like this. But this is the tarantula. This is probably the most complex animation I've ever done. It was super fun to do, but it just took quite a bit of time to get it so it looked semi-realistic. We are still only early days of this whole VR development, creativity side of things. And it's just getting better and better every year, though, from what I've seen, because I'm sort of pretty much using the VR apps since they first came out, like Medium and SculptVR. That was probably my first one. And then, yes, just so many of them out there now. So mainly I use an Oculus Rift S, and I've been through a couple of them now. I find it's just a really good all-round reliable headset. I've also got a Reverb G2 I bought last year, which I love that for the clarity of that, but it's just not quite as consistent in the tracking as the Oculus hand controllers are. It's pretty close. It's not bad. It's more the fact that it's not compatible with some of the apps I use. Like there's a few, unless you have all the button layouts mapped correctly, it just doesn't work. I used to have a Oculus DK2, which is my first VR headset. And then I had Oculus CV1, which actually was really uncomfortable after wearing that for any sort of period of time. Whereas the Rift S, I can wear that for hours and not get that sort of head strain you get from some of the other ones with the headband type ones. That's pretty much all the bugs. We can just go up on the top for a little look on the top of the log, which is just up here, which sort of gives you an overview. It's just sort of around like a little garden a garden pond as such. So I really want to fill it up with a lot more insects over time and add all the ones from indoors in the static displays, put them all out here as all animated.